Yeah.
And that would rotate among faculty. And so everybody would come over, and that was the only time, my wife ever met any of them.
Okay. Did married life affect your graduate school relationships in any way?
With mentors or with other students or both?
With anybody, really. Yeah. How did that affect your relationship with people in your department?
I don't think it had any effect. I mean, it was nice that, it's tough in grad school that, all your time sunk into those people you're around in your cohort and kind of, cohorts above you and below you. So it was nice to not kind of be looking for a partner among that group, not to criticize that group of folks, but I had other friends who were, relationships came out of that. And so that was kind of nice that it kept kind of work and personal life separate.
Yeah.
My wife was in grad school at the same time. And so it was basically, we both had the same kind of schedule of, always studying and going to classes. So I think it helped me in that sense of having a consistent schedule.
Yeah.
But as far as relationships, I don't know. I don't think it really influenced them that much.
Okay. And were you ever a next door neighbor to any of your mentors?
No.
On a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being highest, how unique would you say each of your mentors were compared to other people in your professional life at the time?
5 for all of them. They were all very unique individuals. I think all the faculty at Washington were.
Yeah.
They all had kind of their own quirks, their own, very different backgrounds, their own kind of research interests, their own, intellectual training. So that was nice to be exposed to that and get a lot of variation.
Yeah. Stand out the most to you?
As far as kind of personality?
Yeah, as far as
or,
what makes them unique.
Let's see. Joe had a very just kind of a critical approach to any type of kind of new research. Always found that very useful. Kind of thinking about, this isn't a new idea. This is really just an old idea with a new term wrapped around it. So that type of, critical approach. Let's see. Bob was really, less friendly and was kind of always, really kind of there, just, when you're having a hard day of grad school, and it's just kind of, the guy you go to, he says, everybody experiences this. This is just kind of the struggle, and it's not unique. And then, Ross was just full of good ideas. He seemed to always kind of, be able to take something you worked forever on and point out all the problems with it immediately, like really, brilliantly. And, always, had a lot of respect for that. And so those were always kind of valuable resources to draw on.
Why was it useful to have such diverse faculty during graduate school? How do you draw on that now?
I think the biggest thing was being exposed to so many different, areas. So, not just learning criminology, but learning, kind of, political economy or institutional analysis and historical comparative work. And then also demography and network analysis. And so having, a real diverse, interest base, and then having people who are really good at those areas, being exposed to that. And I think, it's when you come into grad school, you have a really narrow focus, and, there's a lot of things you don't know. And so, being exposed to those things, I think helps me now because I can, read in a lot of different areas, and be kind of familiar with different ideas across, disciplines or, those sorts of things.
Okay. How relatable would you say your mentors were on a scale of 1 to 5, 3 being average, 5 being highest?
Joe was definitely a 5. Bob was a 5. Ross probably a 4.
Okay.
All very relatable.
Okay. Each of them that score.
I think just very approachable. Similar kind of interests. I think the kind of approachability is the real big thing there. And also, they all really cared about the work that grad students did, and having a strong graduate program that always felt very reinforcing.
Did you have any idea what your mentorship relationships would be like when you first entered graduate school?
Yeah, I thought it would be. So I had an undergrad advisor that I worked with, and it was basically go in and kind of, here's a reading list, do the readings, let's talk about it, or here's some data, let's work on a project. And it was, I always thought it'd be something like that, where it's much more like, that's how a faculty member works with an undergrad student. I thought it'd be like that, and not so much. It's a lot harder when you're a grad student, because there's a lot more kind of developing your intellectual capacity, and those sorts of demands, which I wasn't aware of, and I think it'd be like that.
Yeah. That when you first met each of your mentors, how did you meet them?
I'm sorry, can you say that again? It cut out.
Can you tell me how you met each of your mentors?
Yeah, so my first semester I TA'd for Bob.
Mm-hmm.
Second semester I TA'd for Joe. Mm-hmm. And then I never TA'd for Ross, but we had every week we had a deviant seminar where somebody presented on some work in the area, and I would see him at those and talk to him. So that was first semester also.
Oh, okay.
So I'd met them all very early on.
What was your first impression of each of them?
God, I really try my memory here. It's 10 years ago. Let's see. I think I was surprised how approachable they were. I thought it would still be very, I don't know, they start treating you like a grad student instead of just like another kind of undergrad in the mass of other students. Remember, when first time I met Bob, I called him Dr. Crutchfield, and he said, just call me Bob. I don't like those sorts of titles. And it surprised me. I think that was my first impression of Bob. And then Joe, I was really surprised. My first impression was Joe's that, if I didn't know he was a faculty member, I never would have guessed he's an academic. He seems so like a normal person, not to, critique what faculty are like, but, that was my first impression. And the same thing with Ross, that kind of being surprised that they're treating you like a grad student type of feeling.
Yeah. When you, were leaving graduate school, did you have any vision of what your relationships were going to be like afterwards?
I knew Joe was going to retire and be uninvolved. Bob, I knew was going to retire pretty soon. And then Ross, similar thing, where I wasn't working on anything with them. And so, I occasionally send them articles, or an email checking in on something. But I haven't done that in a few years. But with regard to the expectations, I think that's entirely consistent with what I thought it would be like, kind of, I'll see you at the meetings, type of relationship.
Yeah. Has your opinion of any of them changed since graduate school?
No,